Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness. Slightly too aggressive there, but hey, I have to do something. So, especially after what I just experienced. So, with that stated, I'm Rob, and hey, how's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing great. It is a gloomy day outside, as you can probably tell. No, you can't. It looks very bright from here, but it's actually very gloomy outside. Not that you could tell. That's okay. So, um, this is an album review that I'm going to be delivering to you, and it is of the Roger Waters' The Dark Side of the Moon Redux. Before I get to that, however, I do want to remind you all that the fundraiser continues. For those of you unaware, I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I really need your help. My insurance will not cover any of this, and therefore I'm reaching out to you, my YouTube community, for your help as I'm far from reaching the fundraising goal. And I desperately need to replace parts on my scooter before it malfunctions and I am basically stuck. Due to my dexterity issues, I am unable to use a regular wheelchair or any other scooter for that matter, so I'm limited to what I have and I have to keep it going. So please do what you can. There is a spot fund account you'll find linked below that's easy to contribute to. I mean, all contributions are welcome. I am asking for a $10 minimum. However, if you could do more, that's great. It would be greatly appreciated. I do want to extend a warm and gracious thank you to those who have contributed thus far. Believe me, your contributions have made a world of difference in my life, and I really appreciate you all. I love you all, and the same goes for those who plan on contributing. You're wonderful people, and I don't know what I'd do without you. So thank you for watching my videos. So, Roger Waters, The Dark Side of the Moon Redux, released a few days ago, Friday, October 6th, 2023. And as you can hear, my cat is crying. That's not to say that this album is bad. It is anything but bad. It's The Dark Side of the Moon. And The Dark Side of the Moon is a classic album from Pink Floyd from 1973. But however, with that stated, this is Roger Waters' personal interpretation and take of an album he wrote with Pink Floyd in the early 1970s. And it is also 50 years from that time frame, as the original album was released in 1973 and it is now 2023. So, I'm going to try my best to avoid comparisons to the original Pink Floyd album, as the Roger Waters album is its own entity, and it should really be judged on that merit alone as an album of material composed by Roger Waters and released by Roger Waters in 2023 in memory of the original album. Um, and we just had a few months ago we had an actual official Pink Floyd release of a special edition of Dark Side of the Moon, which I still have yet to get. But it has a live concert where they perform the album, I think, from beginning to end, I'm pretty sure. And that's something that I would like to hear and have from my collection. But in the meantime, Roger Waters released his The Dark Side of the Moon Redux. And how do I describe this album? Okay, it's going to be difficult to actually describe this album. It's not a bad album. It's actually quite good. What drags the album down, in my personal opinion, is Roger's spoken word. Now, it does occasionally fit and offset the songs, in my humble opinion. But I think it's excessively utilized in this album, and I'm going to explain why. I think it's excessively utilized to sort of pad out the time because we don't have the extensive guitar soloing or keyboard solos that were on the original album. So instead, we get these vast sections of music that are sort of accented by the spoken word of Roger Waters, and it is interesting to some degree, but also it's sort of over explaining an album that really needs no explanation. Uh, the concept of Dark Side of the Moon as a concept album, I think always worked best if it was left to the individual, and the concept has been well documented as well, but I've always liked to just you know relate to it on a personal individual level and not have it necessarily uh, explained to me, because once something is explained, you can't really see it the same. And it goes for songs, it goes for films, anything with an air of mystery to it. If it retains that mystery, it draws you back, in my opinion, and it really keeps you wanting to examine it more and listen to it more or watch it more or whatever the case, or read it. Anything that has a mystery to it that is really hard to put your finger on and pin down the meaning of. It's something that draws me back and draws me back time and time again. And having this sort of story outline, if you will, that Roger puts forth on his Dark Side of the Moon, for me, it spells things out too much. And in that, it takes away from the enjoyment of the album uh, as a piece of um, creative expression where we're able to draw our own conclusions and interpretations of what it means to us individually as it's being told, this is what it means, this is what this means, and it's not being said as such, but the spoken dialogue does basically spell out the meaning of some of these tracks and some of the lyrics in these tracks. I don't know how I really feel about that. I I think that doing this project was brilliant. It was a great idea. And in a lot of the ways, I'm glad that Roger did do this. I just wanted to listen to it and listen to it objectively as I could, kind of divorcing myself from the original Pink Floyd album and listening to this as a Roger Waters album by itself. And as a Roger Waters album by itself, the spoken word on this album is excessive. I will say that. We don't need quite as much of the spoken word. And also, we need, in my opinion, we need a bit more of the songs being sung as opposed to spoken. As some of the lyrics are not really sung on this album, they're more spoken, and in some cases it sounds less like Roger Waters and more like Johnny Cash. And you can view that however you want. That could be positive or negative for you. For me, it was a negative. Not that I have anything against Johnny Cash, but Roger Waters is not Johnny Cash, and Johnny Cash is not Roger Waters. And Roger Waters is an extremely talented lyricist and performer. And with that stated, and with his stage show being so bombastic in its presentation, I think I expected more from this album in terms of its kick, as it's very lacking in that. It never actually kicks in. There are points where you think it's going to cross over and you think it's going to sort of go into that territory where you've been waiting for things to kind of crescendo and build, and it just doesn't happen. With that being stated, is it a good album? Yes, it is a good album. Is it a great album? I I cannot say that it's a great album. I can say that it is a very ambitious and creative endeavor. And I admire what he did and attempted to do on this album by taking these songs and crafting, in many cases, a different life for them in their own right. But with that stated, it it falls short in its intensity, and it's a really it's an album that deserves to have intensity. It's an album that really deserves to have that impact, that um, that uh, real, in some cases, over the top production. I don't want to go as far as to say that this album tarnishes the original album's memory, as it really doesn't. It's a different, as I said, it's a different take on the original album, and you really, when you listen to this album, you can't expect Dark Side of the Moon. That's something that I can say from just having listened to it. You cannot expect it to be the Dark Side of the Moon that you are intimately familiar with, that you have known for years. It is a completely different Dark Side of the Moon. And in that, it stands on its own as its own album. And with that being said, I can more accurately define it in terms of Roger's solo work itself. And I feel that he has had better solo albums than this. This is not his best solo work. And as I said, I really think with his stage shows being so, outlandishly over the top in recent memory, I think I expected more from this album. And uh, I would like to see it, perhaps performed live, maybe with more intensity. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would assume so. I I found the album to be interesting and a unique sonic experience. And I'm not regretful that I embarked on that sonic experience for you, my YouTube community, to present this review to you. It was a necessary endeavor, and I feel confident in saying that it is a good album, but it is not a great album. It is not a flawless album. It has its flaws, as I stated. The spoken word is excessive, and if you can overlook that, that's great. Or if the songs are songs that you would like to be more uh, explained and given more context, you'll get that with this iteration of the concept of Dark Side of the Moon. Once again, Roger Waters, Dark Side of the Moon Redux. The Dark Side of the Moon Redux. Copyright 2023. Released on October 6th. 50 years ago, we had the original Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon album. I believe it was released in the springtime. And now we have the Roger Waters solo presentation of his vision of Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know if this is in hindsight or if this is his vision all along. Like I said, this is a completely different album, in my opinion, and that's how it should be listened. It shouldn't be listened so much as a comparison. If it is listened as a comparison, it falls short. And I can tell you that right now. It lacks the intensity, it lacks the delivery, it lacks the production value, but as its own individual album on its own ground, it's a good album. It's a solid album. And that's what I could say about Roger Waters' The Dark Side of the Moon Redux. So I hope you enjoyed and appreciated my review and assessment of Roger's Dark Side of the Moon Redux. Once again, it is currently available everywhere music is sold. It was available as of this past Friday, October 6th, 2023. So, if you're interested, you can stream it and then buy it, or you can just buy it. So, there you have it. This is Rob with Media Awareness. Once again, quick reminder, the fundraiser continues. Contribute your $10 today and make my day. Skip your cafe latte and make that money go a long way. I will see you all again soon. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.